you taking the time to attend the session. A quick introduction of myself. I'm currently leading the communications and PR efforts at Revolut in Singapore. Prior to joining Revolut, I was the CEO of an education startup that worked very closely with some financial institutions such as the Institute of Banking and Finance, the Thai Banking Academy, and the Singapore College of Insurance. When I'm not doing my full-time job, as Susan mentioned, I also co-host a podcast called Good Girls Talk About Money, and we were ranked number 8 in the self-improvement category in April. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Revolut, we are a fintech company founded in the UK. We are an app that offers financial services such as remittance, foreign exchange, cashback, donations, budgeting analytics. And in some countries, not in Singapore yet, our customers are able to access some wealth products such as trading, cryptocurrency, and commodities. One of the products that we offer our customers in Singapore in the app is the ability to set up junior accounts for their kids aged 7 to 17. But before we talk about junior, let's get into the topic of the day, helping our kids master good money habits for life. Allow me to share my screen. So the way kids are exposed to money today is definitely very different from the way we were exposed to money when we were kids, right? But the fundamentals remained very much the same. It is still important for our children to learn how to make good financial decisions, and as they grow up, develop a positive relationship with money. We're all bombarded with content on a daily basis, and our kids are no exception. In fact, studies have shown that children spend as much as 30% of their day looking into a screen. So as parents, we definitely need to go beyond piggy banks and coins to teach our kids about money management. And also you can see by the age of 3, kids are starting to grasp basic money concepts. And by 7, many of these habits are already set in their minds. By 2024, digital banking users will exceed 3.6 billion. So I think, it is a very good time for us to think about when we teach our kids about money, how do we incorporate a digital aspect into it? So cashlessness is making it harder for young people to manage their money. I think a lot of our kids are kind of like thinking, where is this money coming from? When my parents take me to the supermarket, or when they take me out shopping, or even to buy McDonald's these days, they hardly see money change hands, right? When you buy something, you take out your card, you tap on the payment machine, and the transaction goes through. Sometimes when they ask you for, to help them buy some stuff online, you also see that, all you do is you take out your credit card, complete your details online, and check out. And before you know it, something is delivered at home. And when we go out, sometimes when we take Grab, you book the car on your phone, and then after that, you get into the car, and when you reach a destination, you come out of it, no money changes hands at all. So it becomes a case of out of sight, out of mind, right? And for kids, that's like, is it magic? Is there actually money in this world happening? What is the deal with this? Why am I getting things delivered to my house? Why am I getting food paid for? Why am I being taken to places, all these exciting places, and nothing actually changes hands? No money actually changes hands. So the sooner kids learn where money comes from and how to keep track of it, the more positive their relationship with money will be later on in life, right? And we have probably heard of stories about how, some parents, maybe they install the Grab app in their kids' phone so that after school, they can order a Grab ride home. But in the end, every time they go out with their friends, they automatically take out their phones and they book a Grab ride. And, before you know it, your credit card bills have lots of Grab transactions on it. So some of the key attitudes and lessons to start cultivating in our kids from a young age are as follow. Delayed gratification. So instead of spending that $2 you have now on chocolates, why not save it up so that you can buy yourself a $60 toy at Christmas? Now, as parents, we want to give our kids nice things. So when we take them out and they go, oh, you know what, I would love to have that huge cup of bubble tea, right? And how much are bubble teas these days? They're quite expensive. $5.60. Whereas when our parents used to take us out and we want to have like Coke with our meals, that's like $1. And back then it seems like it was a luxury to be given a cup of soda every time you go out for a meal. But now it's as if like a soda is not even good enough. You need to give them bubble tea. And if it's not bubble tea, it's Boost juice, which is also about $6.50 a cup. So if we think about it, how do we explain the concept of delayed gratification to our kids? And that's, if you don't spend that $2 you have now on that bubble tea, or if let's say, they want to spend $2 on a bar of chocolates, maybe you can sort of like tell them, if you save it up, perhaps you can buy yourself something bigger come Christmas or your birthday, for example. Also, we need to talk about needs versus wants. Like kids these days, they think about, what, I want that candy, I want that bubble tea, I want the smoothie, for example. And then when they think about when you tell them you can't have that, you need to have your lunch first, or you need to drink more water, for instance, they think that you're just being a parent, nagging them to adopt healthier lifestyles. But I think, what is key here is telling them that needs versus wants. And when they grow up, such concepts actually take root in the fact that you need to pay your bills, you need to pay your loans, you need to pay your kids' school fees. And versus the want, which is, I want that sports car, I want that Ferrari, I want that Lamborghini. But getting to point A to point B, you don't necessarily need a flashy sports car, but that's a want. So things like that, you need to start teaching them. And of course, concepts like opportunity cost also come in. Like basically, if you use up your allowance on one $5 dessert today, you are sacrificing the chance to have $1 desserts for the rest of the week. So comparing what you want to spend on now, the opportunity cost is that you're actually giving up on, the chance to have smaller desserts, cheaper treats over the span of the entire week. And of course, we need to have honest conversations about money. And I think this stems really largely from personal experience, right? Like growing up, parents don't actually involve their children when it comes to serious money topics. Like, my parents never involved me in the paying of bills. My parents never told me, things like how much my school fees were. So growing up, you just kind of roll along with like, bills and when your parents start to sit you down for that serious conversation about money, it suddenly becomes a lot more intimidating. So for instance, there was once my dad called me up and said like, how much did you write on the check that I gave you for your school fees? And I said, 2005, but you told me that you only wanted $500. So now you suddenly wrote like 2005, the check has bounced, and things like that. So it becomes an awkward conversation because you assume that there is always going to be money in your parents' account, but sometimes that may not be the case. And especially with the economy being so volatile these days, it is very important for us to start getting our kids to be aware that money is not always going to be there. And money may not always be in abundance, right? So honest conversations about money, things that you can start very early. For instance, when you're taking them out to the movies, you can sort of just weave it into the conversation as you are making your way there. Like, oh, so these are the things that we need to pay for today. The popcorn. Who wants to be in charge of the popcorn? How much do you think the popcorn is going to cost? And then as you're driving into the car park and parking your car, maybe you can say something like, wow, I didn't know it will cost $2 for the first half an hour. If we're going to be here for 3 hours, guys, how much do you think parking is going to cost? something like that. So you can weave it in very innocently, when they are still kids. And then as they grow up, they are more used to the fact that their parents talk about money. It's not in bad taste to talk about money with your kids. So which is why when I choose to title my podcast Good Girls Talk About Money, we wanted to sort of debunk the fact that, when you're talking about money, it's not crass, it's not vulgar, but it is actually part and parcel of the learning journey that we need to get on. Oops, what happened? Sorry, something happened. Okay. So teaching your kids about money is also a bit of a experience that you can involve both of you. When we talk, kids are visual animals. So basically, even if you tell them, look, if you want that PS5, it's going to be $1,200. How are you going to save up for it? And in their mind, they're probably going to think, yeah, I'll just save up for it, get a piggy bank, and every time I have a 50-cent coin, I'll put it in. And eventually that PS5 is going to realize and come and appear in the living room. Well, honey, that's not going to be the case, right? Basically, if you let your kids only save 50 cents for that PS5, they're going to take like 10 years to get to that PS5. So, have a chart. Maybe what you can do is take a big white piece of paper or a cardboard, print out a picture of the PS5, and then basically stick it on that thing so that they know that this is the goal. Okay, how much does this goal? How much will it cost to reach this goal? Is going to be 1,200, and then maybe set a challenge. So Aiden, for every $1 you saved towards this PS5, mom and dad, we will each put $1 into the pot, right? So at least when they are actually tracking their savings, they know that there is a goal that they're working towards. And if you make them write down how much I've saved in June, how much I've saved in July, and then when they look at how much dad and mom, have contributed towards that goal, now they know, hey, look, actually I'm making quite good progress towards that goal of mine. So I would encourage you to sort of think about ways to make saving into an experience for both you and your child, and take that opportunity to have that conversation with your kids. Sometimes, making an experience, we're thinking, how do I actually do that? So these are just some points that you can bear in mind when you are sort of designing a learning experience around money. So visibility, give your kids a way to track their progress, maybe with an app, maybe with a money calculator. There's so many tools out there that's available as an app these days. So you can definitely use apps to help you and your child have visibility towards how much you're saving. Hands-on experience, give them opportunities to handle money in different formats, more than just cash. So one of the interesting conversations that I've had with a personal finance blogger when we launched Junior in Singapore was that she said she was having trouble finding people to actually try the Junior product that we launched, because a lot of the parents that she knows, they were more interested in using cash. They say, like, before the start of the week, all I had to do is take out 5 $1 coin and hand them over to my kids and let them use it in school. So the thing is, I would say, I would encourage you to let your child have the opportunity to sort of handle money in different formats, whether it's through cash, whether it's through a debit card that is specially designed for children, or even adding maybe a debit card to their phone so that they can try to use Apple Pay to pay for some of their purchases when they're not with you. Say, for instance, after their enrichment classes, when they pop into the supermarket for a drink or a snack, maybe you can tell them to sort of experiment by paying with Apple Pay, right? To learn from you. Now, these days, I would say these days it's really much easier for parents, for both adults and children, to learn about money with robo-advisory apps. For example, you can set up different portfolios to grow your investment and invest your money. So maybe consider setting up a portfolio for your child, right? have them, choose a portfolio that they feel like they want to try their hands on. Maybe healthcare is really big right now. And you might say, look, Aiden, do you think healthcare is important? And he says, yes, mom, because everyone is kind of ill with COVID, and it'll be, interesting to see how, medicine is going to help solve this problem and things like that. And you can sort of have that conversation about how, demand and supply and stuff like that. So if you set up a portfolio for them using your robo advisory app, for example, maybe at the start of every month, you might want to ask them, so how much of your savings would you like to sort of contribute towards this portfolio of yours? And then maybe they hand you over the money, maybe they have a pot of $10, and you just sort of use the money debit functionality to put that $10 into that portfolio for them, and together you can watch that money grow. Maybe it won't be growing as fast as if you had put in $1,000, but it is a start, and it is a way for them to actually experience how you yourself as an adult in their life deal with money. Involve them, delegate the task of paying for snacks at the movie to one child, and then maybe later when you guys are heading out to say a restaurant for dinner, when the bill comes, maybe instead of you checking the bill, you can ask a child, one of your child, to sort of like say, wait, why don't you check the bill and see if it's correct? And then maybe take that opportunity to talk to them about things like GST, service charge, tipping, for example. So using different life experiences to weave in that conversation about money is also, just as important in the journey, right? And as kids grow up, their relationship with money will definitely change, right? So some of the key lessons that we should, be teaching our kids, even as, they transition from being cute little children to teenagers, what we can do is always to inculcate these values in them. Spend less than you earn. When they do household chores, for instance, for you, maybe you want to reward them, like, okay, Chinese New Year, spring cleaning. If you help clean up your room, if you help take out the trash, if you help vacuum the floor, I'll give you $20. Okay, and then when you give them that $20, ask them, so what are you going to use that $20 for? And they say, I'm going to Pandora to buy myself a new little charm for my bracelet. And then you can ask them, so how much does that charm actually cost? And if they say $60, and is that $20 going to be enough? So then you can sort of like teach them, you need to spend less than you earn. Invest what you save. We've touched on that. Whatever little savings that your kid has, maybe you want to involve them in starting a little investment portfolio and helping them see how that investment effect has on their money over the long term. And maybe, sometimes nowadays these apps, they're quite proficient in showing you the projection as well. Like, if you keep at it at this rate, in 50 years time, you're going to end up with $1.2 million. Who knows, right? Most importantly, be patient. Okay, when they say like, look, I'm saving 50 cents every day, what good is that going to do? Then I guess the famous example to quote would be Warren Buffett, and how he's a big fan of, compounding. And you can sort of explain to them, if you save 50 cents every day, by the end of the month, you will have like, $150. And then if you save that into a bank account with 2%, 2% interest, how much is that going to be? How much is that going to grow, by the time you're 21? Is that going to be enough for you to pay off your college fees? I don't know. But, this is a way to sort of also teach them that, even if you don't see the immediate results today, by the time they by the time they go to college, by the time they have their first kid, maybe that little pot of money will become something substantial that will make a difference to their lives. And most importantly, we all need to learn the value of money, right? So the value of money, it's not always going to be there. It's not always going to be in abundance. Sometimes and most often, most frequently, all of us have to work for our money. So things like that, we need to sort of put it into our kids' financial literacy education. So I would like to talk to you a little bit about Revolut Junior. So when we talk about giving visibility to your kids around tracking their money, around tracking their savings, Revolut Junior is an app that you might want to consider using with your child. If you are a Revolut customer, you can set up a Revolut account for your kids for free. And with paid plans, subscribers, you can definitely have access to more feature. But let me just share with you some of the features that Revolut Junior have, and whether or not you decide to sign up for it, that's up to you. So creating a Revolut Junior account is very simple. As a parent, you when you launch your app, you will find the option to set up a Junior account, and then you'll be given a QR code, and your child will be able to download a Junior app into their phone by scanning that QR code. Okay, and as a parent, so the whole experience is designed to be used in tandem. So as a parent, you use your Revolut account to manage not only your own money, but you can also see how your child is managing their money. But for the kids, their Revolut Junior account, they will only see how much money they have in their own account. So you can see that as a parent, you can add money to your to your kids' Revolut Junior account, and then when the money is added, then you can see that the kid will receive a notification saying that, hey, mom has just sent you $10. We have specially designed Junior debit cards that you can order for your kids as well. So with Revolut, the security feature, we're very proud of the ease of our security features. So if, let's say, for instance, your child calls you one day and say, hey mom, you know what, I lost my card. I went for PE, changed out, when I went back to my locker, my card is no longer there. I can't remember where I last placed it. You can freeze that card for your kid, or they can easily access their own Revolut Junior app and report, that the card has been stolen. They can freeze and deactivate their card so that money isn't going to be their money isn't going to fall into the wrong hands. You can also sort of set spending limit. So you've given your kid a debit card, they've got $100 in there. You want to make sure that they're not going to spend $100 just on buying, say, gaming credits online, for example. So you can set a limit such that every time they transact with the card, they do not go over, say, $10 or $20, right? And then managing the Junior card, like I said, you can manage it for them or they can manage it themselves. Setting a weekly allowance. Sometimes we're so busy, we forget to give our kids an allowance. So this is a function that you can sort of use. So every week on Monday, please transfer $5 to Adam's account automatically. And then every Monday, Adam will be told that, hey, you know what? You just received your weekly $5 from your mom. Setting tasks. So this is a paid function. So basically, if you are a paid customer of Revolut and you set up a Junior account for your children, you'll be able to use things like tasks. So say, for instance, read a book. And when you finish it, you will get a $1.50 reward. If you tidy up your bathroom, I'll give you another $1. If you wash the dishes, you'll get 50 cents, for example. Maybe your child can set up tasks for themselves too. So say, for instance, mom, exams are around the corner. If I get 100 marks for my math exams, for example, will you give me $10 for my effort? And if you agree, they can set up that task, and then when they complete it, the app again automatically rewards them when they finish it. Setting goals. So sometimes when we talk about, the PS5 example, it may be a bit too cottage industry to sort of use a paper and then draw it all out. While that's fun with the hands-on experience part of it, maybe you want to automate the thing, and you can use the Revolut Junior app to set goals for your children. So say, for instance, he wants to save up for a PS5, maybe you kind of think like, you're not going to pay the full $1,200. But, Aiden, if you are willing to save up $300 for it, I'm happy to sort of pay for the rest of it, right? So maybe you can set a goal for Aiden for the PS5 and say that goal here is $300, right? And then as he saves towards the goal, and he puts it into this little pot that's called PS5, you can also sort of track whether they are making good progress towards that saving goal. And then they can also track their savings on their app. And when they actually reach it, confetti falls in their phone, and they can have a mini celebration, like, yay, I managed to reach that goal of saving up for my PS5. Sometimes you don't really just want to sort of be the only person to talk about money with your kids. So you can also select a co-parent to sort of have that person put money or transfer money, set tasks, for instance, for your child, right? One of the security features of Revolut is that only you and your appointed co-parent, or that could even be a legal guardian in some of our cases, to give money to your child. No strangers, no other adults would be able to give your kids money via Revolut. So this is a safety feature. So we want to make sure that, only adults that are giving your kids money. Right, and with this, I thank you for your time, and maybe we can sort of have a conversation and some sharing session about how we can sort of all help our kids develop better money habits for life. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. That was really good. I really like the fact
Susan,
that
I think
you
you're
can
on
sit.
mute.
Am I? Can you hear me now? Am I okay? Can you hear me now? Can everyone hear me? Oh no. I think I've unmuted myself. Still nothing?
We can hear you. Yes.
Oh,
yeah, okay,
so everyone can. Oh, fantastic. Oh my God, bit of delay. Sorry about that. I really like the task part of what you were just had in your presentation, because my daughter is, really loves task, and she'll do anything for money. So that was really good, like setting tasks. Which I thought was really good. I have one question for you. So when you were talking about like investing money with your children, like Cynthia has a question. She asked, if one comes from a lower income, can one still talk about portfolios, or is there something else that we can sort of chat with our kids about rather than investing it in some sort of portfolio?
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, for sure. I grew up in a lower income family myself, and of course my parents didn't have investment portfolio, so to say. But what I wish they had involved me in when I was growing up was the fact like how insurance actually work. So I think even parents who these days, even if they are not earning a lot of money, I think everyone is kind of, familiar with how insurance work and why we should be getting insurance, right? So I think any kind of topic that involves, I think, saving over the long term, or kind of inculcating that good money discipline over the long term towards something that protects you for an unforeseen circumstance, for instance, that is also a topic that you can also share with your children. Also, I think, we have CPF, at least for those working in Singaporean citizens. We have these things, we have, what we call the CPF. And within the CPF itself, you have things like your ordinary account, your special account, your MediSave account, maybe that concept is a bit too difficult for a child below the age of 10 to start talking about. But basically you can sort of also start talking about how every month when your parents' salary comes in, 20% of that automatically goes into the CPF. And what is that for? And you can tell them that over time, when they grow up, when they start working, that's also going to happen to them. And what can you use your CPF for? You can use your CPF for when you take on a home loan, when you start buying your own, when you start setting up your own marital home and things like that. So I think if you don't want to talk about investment just yet with your kids, you can definitely talk about enforced savings in the form of CPF, or even when it comes to paying premiums towards insurance policies.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Another question is, where do parents go wrong with teaching kids money? Like, so my eldest daughter is like really good in, making sure that she has a little bit. of money to spend when we go out, for example, just to buy, I don't know, small little candy or a small little toy. But my other child thinks that, money grows on trees and it's just there forever. And there's abundance of it, right? So where, and my youngest daughter is 8 and my oldest one is almost 12. So I suppose that's the age gap and stuff. But where do parents usually go wrong when they talk about, when money's involved? Do you have an idea or?
I think it really depends from parent to parent and the
Yeah.
background that each family comes from. I think for some parents, maybe they kind of feel that they want to spare their children from the harsh realities of life, and they avoid talking about money, right? So that's potentially one mistake or a blind spot that some parents fall into, that they feel like money is too harsh a topic to start involving their kids, to talk to with their kids. But I think the if, let's say, for instance, as parents, we embody that pride that we have, when it comes to you may not be a billionaire. I don't think many of us are, actually. So you may not be bringing the big bucks, right? But I think there is no harm in just basically telling your child, like, this is how much I earn every month. This is how much is going into the school fees, the bills, and basically get them to be aware that there is money. It's just that maybe different families spend it differently. But rather than just avoid that topic altogether, involve your children. It doesn't have to be the super heartbreaking kind of talk, like, oh, if you insist on buying this Barbie doll, we will not be able to pay our water bills for the month. For some families, yes, that could be that kind of reality. But I think try to sort of don't don't sweep that topic under the carpet, so to say, right? Be open about it, and I think most children are sensible enough to sort of empathize with their parents as well. And I think having that conversation early also develop your child's ability to empathize from an early age. So rather than have them cushion away in a bubble, thinking that all is well and all is good, and when suddenly the bubble bursts, I think that's going to be a lot more difficult for them to cope with. So that's So I think that's one mistake that parents tend to have. Another one, if I may share, is over incentivizing. So yes, while there is a function for you to reward your kids for completing certain tasks on the Revolut app, I think we need to also bear in mind that we don't end up teaching our kids that the only things worth doing are the things that are, they get money for. So sometimes some the screenshots that we show are some examples, right? But I liked when I give like media interviews about Revolut Junior, I actually encourage listeners or readers to think about setting more challenging tasks for their kids, something that's a lot more that will take a lot more effort. For example, rather than giving you $1 for cleaning up your room, which you should be cleaning up your room anyway, or making your bed every morning before you go off to school, what you can say is, you know what, summer's coming up, I'm going to send you to a coding camp. If by the end of that coding course, you can actually code a simple app, I'll give you $20. So it is a bigger incentive for a much more challenging task that, it might just sort of motivate them to sort of put in that little bit of effort to sort of justify why you're sending them for certain courses, for certain classes. So so I think that's another mistake that parents sometimes tend to make, or maybe they unwittingly make.
Oh, interesting. Okay, we got a question from Erica. Can we set up investment portfolios and buy stocks through Revolut, or do we need to go to a broker like Saxo?
So currently, right now, we don't have our trading feature in in Revolut for Singapore. That's still pending approval from the Monetary Authority of Singapore. In other countries, yes, Revolut provides commission-free tradings, and you can buy fractional shares, and for as little as $1, for example. But right now, unfortunately, not through Revolut.
Oh, I see. Is that coming? Yeah. Although it's pending.
Fingers crossed, it's come. We are hoping. We've already submitted all the necessary paperwork, so now we're just sitting on our hands and waiting for MAS to tell us, yes, go ahead.
Okay, perfect. That sounds very exciting. Another question is it, so when I download the app and then, obviously if in any case we have to move away from Singapore and move to the UK or Australia, for example, is Revolut available there, or can I just do this because it's, on an app? It doesn't really matter where I am. Is that right? Or is it only available in Singapore?
So Revolut is available in over 30 countries around the world. So let's say, for instance, if you are in Singapore and you download the Revolut app in Singapore, then your Revolut app is the Singapore app. So I have some colleagues who were studying their MBAs in UK, and they kind of downloaded their Revolut app while they were in UK, and now they're back in Singapore, and the Revolut app that they're using is the UK app. So there are different countries that the Revolut app is available. So, but if you're downloading it in Singapore, then that's the Singapore app that you're using.
Okay, perfect. SS has a question. Usually I talk openly about finance with my 9-year-old, but how can I answer a question like, how much money do you have, Mom?
Do you mean now in my wallet, or do you mean in my bank account? Or do you mean like enough money for you when I die and in the will and something like that? But anyway,
I think my inheritance money.
Yeah. So I think, when it comes to answering questions like how much money do you have, Mom, basically maybe we can start off all with a little bit of humor, like, do you mean in my wallet, or do you mean how much do I have left for you in your inheritance, right? But I think if you're comfortable, then you can sort of say, well, son, I earn $5,000 a month. I save $2,000 every month. I've been working for 20 years. How much do you think I have in my savings account? And he gives you a number, and he's like, well, you're lucky that I have actually a little bit more, because I also use my money to invest and things like that. So you can sort of be a little bit vague, give them a ballpark figure, and also get that conversation going. Like, you can sort of make your money work harder for you if you do certain things with them.
Okay. I don't know if you can answer this, Deborah, but for me, I was growing up in Denmark, and in Denmark, you can start working when you're like 13, 12, you don't pay any taxes. And that was a great thing because, us kids could learn the value of hard work and the reward of money. But obviously here in Singapore, not a lot of kids are allowed to work, especially expat kids in the community, or, not allowed until they're like, I don't know, 16 or 18, if they get the LOC and they get the permission to work. What are your tips for parents considering, for teenage children, considering inflation and how things are quite expensive in Singapore, in terms of like allowances and stuff? What are your thoughts of parents, how they can give allowances to their children? Like, do they give $100 a week, 250? I suppose it depends on every parent, but just in general, just share your thoughts on that one, maybe.
Well, I must say I don't have that actual real life experience on like negotiating allowances with kids, so far. But I would say that if, let's say, for instance, at different age, their needs also change. So for instance, a primary school kid might be able to get by on $5 a week, okay, but maybe by the time they reach college, for example, they may need $100 a week, right, for different reasons and stuff like that. But rather than sort of work on that arbitrary number where you say like, okay, great, now that you're 16, your allowance is going to be $25 a week. Maybe what you can do is budgeting. So what happens is sit your kid down and sort of like say, look, how much do you need a week, and draw up a budget for me, right? For food, how much do you spend? For school stuff, how much do you spend? For transport, how much do you spend? Justify that cost, have them draw up a budget sheet, and then justify, this is how much I need on a weekly basis to sort of get by in Singapore. So I think, it is an opportunity again for a conversation with your child regarding money. And, instead of just having them assume that the moment, Monday rolls around, I will have a certain amount of money handed to me. Maybe what we can do is at the end of every quarter or at the end of every 6 months, sit them down, ask them to look at their budgets, what they've been spending on, how much they've been saving, from the allowance that they've been given every week, and then sort of have a look at whether they're actually making good money decisions, and they actually know where their money goes, right? Like, one of the most important things about managing your money is also knowing where they go. So have them draw a budget and say, like, every week, every day, this is how much I spend on the bus, this is how much I spend topping up my EasyLink card and things like that. So, rather than just telling them this is how much you're going to get, have them justify this is how much they need to get by. Yeah.
Is there a budgeting page within the app, or do we have? I haven't actually explored that yet, or do we need to download another budget app?
No, there isn't a budgeting function in Junior just yet. Yeah, but in the adult version, for the adults, you actually have a budgeting analytics that you can also use.
Oh, right. I have downloaded the app. I haven't just explored it. So I think it's such a great idea. And what are the, so what do you have to be to download the app? I know that you have to upload your IC and all of that if you're local, but what about, for instance, for expats who are here on an employment pass or a dependence pass, for example?
I guess if you have that sync pass, you can sort of have that, you can sort of link up using the My Info kind of thing. Okay. So I think even for expats, that could work. I'm not very sure, but do explore and let me know. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I will, because I'm I'm PR, so it was quite easy for me to upload all the info and just a picture of the PR card or the IC card. So I thought maybe it's a different, because it's quite hard for an expat to open a bank account, for example. Hence, I was asking if it's really that easy for it to for us to download the app. Oh, Andrea was like, I'm a DP and I could upload my details. Okay, well, that answers my question. Thank you very much, Andrea. If we don't have any more questions for Deborah, we're going to say thank you. Is there any more questions for Deborah, everybody? Look. Thank you. You're most welcome, Neelam.
Thank you.
Great meeting. Thank you so much. So Deborah, how can people contact you if they have more questions about the app? Can I give them your details?
Yeah, sure. You can give them my details. Can share my details with them. But basically, there is also a in-app customer service agent. So if you are encountering any problems with your account or anything about functionalities, I would recommend you go straight to the customer service agent. But if you have any questions with regards to today's presentation, with regards to what else you can do with Revolut, I'm happy to take on any questions via email, or you can find me on LinkedIn under Deborah Tan Ping.
Okay, perfect. So I have actually recorded this session. So for those who have not joined us this morning because they're either busy or entertaining children because some schools are closed today, I will send them the recording so that they can also follow what we have talked about this morning. Thank you so much, Deborah. I know you're a very busy lady, so I'm going to say thank you to you and thank you to everybody who joined us this morning. We have another talk next week and it's all about branding. So if anyone has a business and wants to think about rebrand or change anything, do go to the Expat Living website and sign up for the rebranding talk next week. So Deborah, thank you so much. I'm going to explore more about the app after this talk. Thank you so much for all the tips.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a great day.
Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.